Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider, like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. Now let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from a throwaway account and it says, I 23 female, I'm days away from giving birth, and my 37 male boyfriend just decided to tell me that he can't be at the birth because he's married. Just so you're aware before we do go into this post was around the COVID times, so you'll see a couple of mentions of COVID here and there. So first off, I know the age gap probably should have been a red flag, but I was stupid. We've been together for 2 years, but he lives in a different city. When I got pregnant, he said he was going to move to my city and we would move in together. He just needed to finalize some things with his ex-wife. He told me he was divorced when we met, and I never had any reason to question it. I knew that he had 2 kids with her as well. He told me the truth about that, just not that he wasn't divorced, or even separated. So fast forward, I'm 39 weeks, and he suddenly got uncommunicative, which is less than ideal, when you're literally about to give birth. Bear in mind that he was supposed to have been fully moved in here a month ago. Blamed COVID. Today I found out I'm going to be induced on Monday, unless baby decides to come out over the weekend, so I contacted him and I was like, okay, what's going on? And that's when he told me that he isn't actually separated or divorced. He never told his wife about anything, and now he felt like he was backed into a corner. I don't feel sorry for him for that because that's his own fault, but obviously literally 4 days before giving birth isn't the time you want to get this news, and I have no idea what to do now. Tell him to fuck off, obviously, but what else? I feel like I can take care of the baby, but I was preparing to have a partner to take care of it with me, I don't even know what I'm asking for in terms of advice, but any advice for moving forward and handling this is appreciated. The first commenter comes in and says, lawyer the fuck up. Get DNA tests, make sure he pays you what he owes you. This is horrible, and I'm so sorry he did this crap. He had no right. Do you have anybody else that can be there with you? Mum, friend, or support? Opie says, I'm going to try and contact a doula organization like someone in this thread suggested. My mum can't be here because she's out of state. Thanks, COVID. I was dumb enough to think that he'd be here. P Squared says, oh man, every negative belief I have about relationships with large age gaps gets confirmed once again. RE, what to do? Other than getting child support from him. There's not much else you can do. Do you really want that guy in your life any more than absolutely necessary? Opie says, yeah, it's not a good choice. I wish I could go back and tell my naive self to run away. I wish I could zap him out of my life at all, but JPK says, this is a horrible situation. Did you ever go to his place of residence? How could he hide something like that from you for 2 years? You never asked to meet his kids once. It got serious. Hopefully you stick it to him. Make him take responsibility, even if it's just financially. Opie said he had an apartment. I get the feeling that I wasn't the first person he tried this on. Told me his ex-wife had full custody, blah 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 blah. Typical shady story I should have seen through. He was really good at making it all sound realistic. He came to my city for work frequently, so a lot of the time we were here, but he really had all his bases covered. JW says, so again, you never met his children. If a man has children but never has them, then there's something wrong. Opie says, yep, I never once met them. I realize now that this is something I should have seen as a red flag. I think I'm a pretty smart person, but let me tell you, this made me feel like a huge idiot. Popeye says, do you have proof that he's been lying this whole time? You're gonna need it. Opie says, I'm a sentimental hoarder, so I have lots of texts and stuff. Gonna make sure that I screenshot any time he talked about his divorce, custody, anything else he lied about. Shortly after those comments, Opie edited that same post and said, edit, thank you all. It seems like getting legal help is priority number 1. I'm just in shock right now, like I almost feel numb, but I really appreciate everyone here for your help. I was really happy and looking forward to baby, and I just feel really sad right now, so I need to take a breather. Everything is ready for baby and I'm excited to meet them. But Jesus. Edit 2, in bold this time. In addition to all kinds of weird comments, I'm getting all kinds of weird PMs, so I think I just need to take a deep breath, walk away, mindlessly binge watching something stupid for a while, and cry my face off tonight. I called around to a few family lawyers in my area, and the advice I got from posting here has been absolutely brilliant. But I'm running out of this SAS/Steam to deal with anything else that's happening here, so I'm just going to check out. I'm going to leave the legal business to the lawyers. Pray that he didn't give me false information. I can actually find him and try to remember how much I was looking forward to being a mum before all of this happened. I don't really care if people think it's fake or whatever, because I gained exactly nothing, aside from the advice that I needed, from making this post, and I gained exactly nothing from arguing. To everyone who shared their stories with me, thank you. Thank you so much. You feel like the dumbest fucking person in the world when this happens to you, and knowing it happens to people all the time is a weird comfort, even when you wouldn't wish it on anybody. I don't think of myself as a trashy or generally stupid person, just a person who was blinded by love and naivety and has learned a really hard lesson a really hard way. I doubt anything of monumental concern will happen between now and my Monday induction, but once baby is here, I will try to come back and let people know what's happening. So, a short time later, OP did update and said first things first, I had my healthy baby girl on Monday evening. We were discharged shortly after birth due to COVID, so I've been trying to adjust to everything. Her birth was a dream and I never want to do it again. Lol. Second, I talked to his wife for over an hour yesterday. I guess he decided to tell her. She wasn't mad at me, thank God. She'd had her suspicions but was trying to trust her husband, which I understand. She was so nice, honestly, and even though she isn't angry at me, I still feel bad because she's such a nice lady. She wanted to make sure I was doing okay, and that I didn't need anything, which made me cry because postpartum hormones are whack. She's getting a divorce from him. Good for her, to be honest. We're planning to meet up and talk shit about him once the virus is over. I have a lawyer and will establish custody and child support legally ASAP. He hasn't bothered to contact me at all, but I don't particularly care. I didn't want to leave anyone hanging, even though it's not a huge update. Thank you to everyone who checked in, it means a lot. Also, I'm all set with everything baby needs. With things being as they are, consider donating to a local diaper or formula bank. Save your money for awards on this post and put it towards that. Help babies and mamas who don't have the resources I do. Someone says to OP, out of curiosity, did she reach out to you? Did your ex give her your number? OP says he refused, so she went through his phone to find me. She's pretty badass and I love her. Another commenter says, that was a far better outcome than I expected. I hope a friendship between the two of you blossoms and the siblings can get to know one another. Don't be surprised if she does step back though. This must be incredibly hard for her. Although it wasn't your fault, you will always be a reminder that her husband cheated and her marriage is over. OP says, oh, absolutely. She will need time to grieve. I want to support her in whatever way I can, even if it means us stepping away from each other. She's a great lady who ended up in a shitty situation. Man, that is such a wild situation. Imagine being in OP's shoes. You know, baby could come at any moment. And this bloody Bert comes walking up to you and goes, I'm pregnant. Not pregnant. Married. Although that'd be wild in itself. Let me try that again. He comes up to you and goes, I'm married. You know, pregnancy is a wild time in itself. But about to drop at any moment, it's even wilder. One of the lines I really did like for OP and the wife in this situation though as well, that says, we're planning to meet up and talk shit about him once the virus is over. I did like that. And I hope that they did get to meet up and are all happy and healthy now. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from No Work Life, who says, my 27 female, second boyfriend, 24 male in a row just broke up with me because he was jealous of my boss, 32 male. Is this inappropriate? I'm an executive assistant at a fast-paced job. I am one of my boss's 2 executive assistants, and I was handpicked for the position after his last one retired through a personality assessment, in addition to skills assessment 2 years ago from within the company. I assumed her duties, which include the typical, but also a lot of life management, including shopping, clothes, food, his schedule, and basically making his life easier in a variety of ways. The personality assessment and us both being married to work has made us a working relationship. In addition, the first year was full of a lot of stress for both of us. His girlfriend left him for his best friend. My father passed away. That made us close friends. When my first boyfriend Patrick left me and was jealous of my Mal, I assumed he was jealous of the hours / didn't understand our changing life / didn't want a girlfriend who was frankly a bummer at the time. However, yesterday, my boyfriend of 4 months, Aaron, broke up with me because I don't want to be the oblivious guy in a rom-com. I was surprised. While Aaron and I weren't serious, between our schedules, we were really just getting to know each other. I liked him and was excited about the future. He had a good sense of humor and was so busy with his own work that he didn't mind Netflix, Chinese, and chill being the bulk of our relationship. I love my job and I love my boss, but can this all be a coincidence? Do I need to draw lines? How do I draw lines? Here are some things that Aaron cited when I asked what he meant. 1. I answer his phone calls on his first ring, which, well, yeah, it's work. 2. I spend late nights with him doing date-like things. Usually this is work-related or food, after a long night with no breaks for meals. We aren't going on romantic getaways or holding hands at the movies. 3. We have each other's spare keys. I spent Thanksgiving with his family. I buy his underwear. Work. Nowhere else to go when my dad died. Work. 4. He's given me head rubs before and gets me frequent gifts. Typically things he buys himself, he will grab 2 of, or just generous gifts for holidays or as a thanks for working extra hard. That is all the concrete stuff he gave. The rest was vague things. You know everything about him, you smile every time you mention him, blah blah blah. I really don't know if my boyfriends just aren't understanding of my work. I'm not sure whether I'm genuinely too close to Mal or if I'm just your average workaholic. Advice? I don't want to quit my great job or lose a great friend. Top commenter says, I've had executive assistants in the past and been around countless others. I've never seen a CEO with a key to the executive assistant's apartment, whose underwear is bought by her or who gives her head massages. The boyfriend's reactions are not surprising in the slightest. And I'm glad that was the first comment on that one, because I thought maybe, if I comment I'm talking about a different world like I've got no clue in, but I looked at that and I thought you're buying his Grundies for him. I mean, ridiculous poodle, says the OP. You're filling the roles of nanny, best friend, and girlfriend to this guy. That's a lot of blurred boundaries and a lot of expectations to heap on one person. How many hours per week do you spend with your boss? How often is your personal time interrupted with calls and texts from him? Do you think of him first as your boss or first as your friend? Do you prioritize his needs above your own or your boyfriend's? If you were interviewing for an executive assistant position in another company and you described your current job to them the way you have here, how do you think that they would view you? Answering these questions may give you some insight into what's going on here. It does sound to me like you're too close and that this job is not strictly professional. Head rubs are insanely inappropriate in a boss/subordinate relationship. Buying underwear is nowhere near what an executive assistant does in any place I've ever worked. I think you both may have over-relied on each other due to your personal circumstances, and as a result you function more like best friends or a couple than you do employer/employee. It's easy to understand why your boyfriends have felt uncomfortable. I think it'd be hard to draw lines at this point, because your job seems to have no boundaries around it. Anything and everything could be considered work, so if you try and stop doing any of it, you risk being seen as unwilling to do your job. If you and your boss really are close, then you could approach him with it as a concern. Let him know that 2 different people have pointed out that they felt your job interfered with your personal life, and that this has made you rethink some things. That's going to come with some risk. Hoopy says, the parts my boyfriend objected to are maybe 10% of my job. I do a lot more, and honestly my job is of vital importance to the company. I've seen my ideas put in place in a large, successful corporation and work. He probably does call/text too often. A user replies to OP and says, you stated that you buy him underwear and he massages your head for you and has a key to your apartment, and the only issue you see is that he probably calls or texts too often. Girl, if my boyfriend ever bought his boss panties once, I'll be out of that relationship. No thanks, never mind all the other crap. Even pretending all that doesn't exist, you seem like a workaholic. That's fine if you love it, but it's nigh impossible to balance that with a full-blown relationship as well. Someone said, is your boss the same way with his other assistant? Opie says no. She has kids and loves working for him. He really is a good boss because he insists she leave at 5 on the dot. She also has responsibilities that involve her leaving his sphere more often. She doesn't get my bonuses though. I replaced an older woman who was actually his nanny growing up and then got hired on in the company when he got too old. Nepotism is weird. Jericho Hill says your relationship with your Mal is absolutely inappropriate. Not at all surprising two boyfriends have dumped you. Your relationships will suffer while this inappropriate relationship continues. You can't be in another relationship as you're already in one with your boss. Opie replies saying, I meant my boss, it was just a typo. Yeah, Opie. I found the comment asking OP to do a bit of self-reflection, like if you was in an interview position for another job and you was telling that company about your previous job, how would they look at that? I was just thinking, yeah. So at some point later, OP came in to update the post and says, a lot of you had some really good advice and I took it all in. I would like to take a moment to defend my job. I'm not a sugar baby or a glorified nanny. For example, today I came in and spent the first 2 hours revising a presentation and preparing materials that Mal was to give after lunch. Then I helped him rehearse, made some verbiage suggestions and brought him up to spend on a few attendees. Afterwards, I read through an employee satisfaction reports, summed them up into quantitative and qualitative data. I set up the conference room, went to get lunch for us, grabbed the dry cleaning, after lunch greeted meeting attendees, took notes during meeting. After meeting, continued with the employee satisfaction report. I formed a committee to handle some rough spots it uncovered. Made materials for committee, then I began researching an incentive program that I would like to implement. Answered emails with ongoing concerns, scheduled and reviewed Mal's calendar, called final job candidates and tried to fit them in for final interviews with Mal. That summarizes the day well. Finally, I asked Mal if he wanted to grab a drink to celebrate a 3-day weekend. We only had a 1-day last week due to a conference. He was surprised but agreed. I told him that the boyfriend and I had broken up. He said that he hadn't cared for him and I could do better. I said I needed more of a work-life balance because at some point I would like a serious relationship. He acted dumbfounded. I don't text that often. Don't you like blank? I thought we were friends too. And it was hard telling him I wanted all of that, but I couldn't because he can't be my best friend and pseudo-boyfriend and boss. I love my job and him, but I need to think long term. He was very surprised and asked if I wanted to move departments if it was that bad. Honestly, I was upset too, and of course I don't want to move departments. I suggested we develop timeframes and put a little distance between us, such as not texting at certain times and me sitting in the outer area of the office more often. He said sure, whatever, and then made an excuse to leave. Later he texted me, this will be the last text you get from after 7:30. This is all bullshit. I don't give a fuck about my underwear. I care about losing my best friend. I haven't responded because I feel like I broke up with my best friend and I don't know what to say. I feel like I cut off my hand. I feel like I broke up with the most important person in my life, but I know something had to change. Thanks guys. And that was OP's last post on the matter, but it kind of felt like they should be together. At the very end, he said, I care about losing my best friend. She later says in the next paragraph, I feel like I broke up with the most important person in my life. I mean, come on. But what do you guys make of this situation? Do you feel like that? Do you feel a different way? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's have another story. Now, our next story comes from the Best of No Updates subreddit from City Mouse, who says, am I the asshole for refusing to inherit the family farm and giving it to my younger brother instead? I, 36 male, grew up on a big farm that was owned by my family, who worked as farmers for generations. Much to the detriment of my parents, I hated the farm life from a very young age. I never liked dirt or grime, and farm animals were also never my thing. So, to no one's surprise, I left the farm when I turned 18 and never looked back. I currently live in a big city. I still love my family very much and visit the farm from time to time, but I'm always the happiest when I return to my urban lifestyle. My mother passed away 3 years ago, and 2 months ago I unexpectedly lost my father due to a work accident. This left my younger brother Tom, 30 male, and I as the sole beneficiaries of their estate. I didn't expect to be left with much, since my folks helped me out financially more than enough times when they were still alive. I honestly only wanted a couple of family trinkets and heirlooms to keep as a keepsake. But to my surprise, as my brothers and I sat down with the attorney to discuss our father's will, we discovered that I was left with the majority of the farm, about 3/4, while Tom was left with the rest. The only reason I can fathom behind this decision is that unlike Tom, I have 2 children, 10 male and 7 female, so maybe that's why I was given the bigger share, but I'm not entirely sure since my children had their own inheritance in the will. Either way, this split of inheritance was ridiculous, since unlike myself, Tom actually lived on the farm and dedicated his entire life to working on it alongside our parents. I saw that Tom was also shaken up by the decision, so I reassured him that I found it absurd as well, and I don't mind forfeiting the land to Tom. Tom said I didn't have to do that, but I insisted. After some back and forth on the topic, we mutually agreed to settle this between ourselves on a later date, when everything would be transferred under our names as our parents intended. I recently informed my wife Jules, 35 female, of my decision regarding my inheritance, and she is furious with me for wanting to give most of it up. She's arguing that my decision is impulse and short-sighted, since the farmland is worth a fortune and I'm just giving it away without a second thought. I told her that the land is worth a fortune only for those who actually intend on doing something with it, and since I neither intend to sell or farm on it, it's effectively useless to me. Jules continued to say that it might be useless to me, but I should think about our children who might one day want to start farming. I told her in that case I'll transfer only half of the land to Tom, so our children could have a quarter of the land at their disposal in the hypothetical scenario they're getting to farming one day. Jules is now not speaking to me unless I reconsider my decision. I need to hear some unbiased opinions to see if I'm in the wrong here. Commenter says to OP, info, did you ever have a what if discussion about inheritance with your wife? I think you should have known how she felt about it by now, and she should have known your feelings. In any case, it's not her inheritance, not her say. OP says, we never had a what if conversation because I never expected to lose my parents so early on in life. A downvoted commenter says, at the very least, you should have a caveat that if or when the farm is sold, you get your 50%. Leave your name on 50%. Otherwise, just leave it to him in your will. There will be hard feelings on what your family is missing out on if he walks away with millions, and it's entirely possible that he could decide to sell and live a bachelor's life on a nice island after 5 or 10 years. You're the arsehole for putting no value on your very valuable inheritance, while you have a family to look out for. You could die in a car crash, then your family has nothing. OP says, I can assure you that even if I pass away tomorrow via a car crash, my family wouldn't go hungry. I have good savings, own 2 fully paid out apartments in the middle of the city, and thanks to my parents, both of my children now have very generous college funds at their disposal. I also highly doubt Tom would ever sell the farm. The guy just called me last week bawling because he lost his favorite sheep. He loves the farm, and to an extent, so do I, which is why I'm giving it to a responsible owner who would take good care of it. However, I mentioned the caveat idea to Jules. Perhaps it will ease her mind. The commenter says, I think you'd be foolish to give it up entirely. I also don't understand why you wouldn't sell it if you don't plan to live there. You still have to pay property taxes on it. I think your brother should buy you out, or have him buy another 25%, meaning you each owe 50%. Put it in your wills that whoever dies first, their share of the farm goes to the other. OP says, I wouldn't sell the farm because it's been in my family for generations, and ruining their legacy of farming isn't worth it for a quick cash grab. I'm also not planning on selling it at full price to Tom since he's my brother, and the farm is both his home and his full-time job. Our parents' death doesn't change that fact. Just what kind of man would I be if I forced my baby brother to buy the home he lives in off me? Someone says, has your wife always been greedy? OP says, I don't know if I would classify Jules as greedy. I think she just cares more about the financial future of our children than she cares about Tom, which is fair enough. She didn't spend 2 days in labor giving birth to Tom like she did with our children. I know she's right in the sense that selling the land would secure our children's financial future, but I love my brother too much to do something like that to him. Jules is an only child, so my guess is that she just doesn't understand how deep a sibling bond can be. So I get why my decision may look irrational to her. I'm still debating on what to do with the land. I managed to secure a meeting with a financial advisor for next week, and I hope seeing him would give me more clarity about my situation. Either way, as long as I'm alive, Tom would always be allowed to farm on the land, and I do plan on giving most of it back to him. Still, it wouldn't hurt to see a financial advisor and have a clear agreement about what would happen if Tom ever sells the land, even though I highly doubt he would ever do that. Someone says, if she's not greedy, she's selfish. Opie says maybe, but is it fair to condemn a mother for wanting what's best for her children? Although I disagree with her, I do see her point of view, which is the main reason why I even posted here in the first place. A commenter says, I get that. Every mother, including myself, wants best for their kids. While financial security is very important, having empathy is also an important aspect of development. And OP's final reply says, listen, I love my wife and I'm just trying to give her the benefit of the doubt in this situation. Although as I said, I don't agree with her. I also don't think villainizing her and calling her a selfish, greedy gold digger would do any good for anyone involved. I'm just being empathetic by trying to see the situation from her point of view. As you said, empathy is an important aspect of development. However, I don't believe it should be limited to only people you agree with. You can disagree with someone's actions while understanding where they're coming from, and without resorting to name-calling and attacking their character. But now, I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? How would you deal with it if it was you? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's stories. Your love, your support, your time, it always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.